Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Did You Know? Today, we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Peter Chung, and we're going to be talking about North Korea. North Korea is not just Kim Jong-un. North Korea is about 25 million people. Hello, Mr. Chung. How are you?
I'm doing fine, you, ma'am.
Would you be so kind to tell me a little bit about yourself?
Oh, okay. My name is Peter Chung. I was born in Seoul in 1943, so I'm almost 80 years ago. And then, well, I spent most of my life in Seoul until I came to America about 48 years ago. Yeah.
And why do you know about North Korea? Why do you know so much about North Korea?
Well, because I'm Korean American, so we know about Korea. We know about North Korea by reading books and some education, information. So we know about North Korea. Mm-hmm.
So I want to get to know what you know about North Korea.
Mm-hmm.
Could you please share with us a little bit about the political history of South Korea compared to North Korea?
Political history?
Yeah.
You mean the division of South Korea and North Korea?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Well, it's kind of some complicated historical background where Korea has been colonized by Japan for 36 years. And then in 1945, as you know, Japan surrendered without condition because of Nagasaki and Hiroshima A-bomb. And then, well, Japanese, they moved out from Korean Peninsula. Okay, then Soviet Union, Russia, and China, and North Korea, those are communist blocs. Uh-huh. They tried to involve whole Korean Peninsula inside the communist bloc. But in South Korea, American power stayed on. So that's why it's divided North and South Korea.
Okay, so the United States went into the South Korea and Russia and China into the North. So when you compare today the two Koreas, since they were divided, how do they compare economically, for example?
Oh, it's terrible different. Terribly. Well, South Korea, well, by 1960s, South Korean economic level was very lower than North Korea. Means North Korean people, they lived well and eat better food than South Korean. But well, South Korean government, they try to develop industry and economic, and then also, well, South Korean, they work so hard to bring economical, development. And then Korean government, they try to encourage to build up factories and products. And also United States of America, they support it. Uh-huh. And so Korean economy grew up very high now. It's about one of seventh, high level in the world.
The world. And what happened in North Korea?
North Korea, they are very low because Kim Jong-un and his father Kim Jong-il and his grandfather Kim Il-sung, the first generation, all the generations, they try to build up only weapons, military power, military weapons. And so they didn't care about people, about economy, just weapon, just the military power only.
So, for example, give us an example. When you compare what is the mid annual salary in South Korea as compared to North Korea?
Well, okay, now UNESCO shows that GNP in North Korea for person a year, $1,400 a year income.
In North Korea?
In North Korea.
$1,400 a year?
Yeah. In South Korea, about 25 times more than they. So North Korea, $1,400 a year, and South Korea about $35,000 a year. It's just far different, really.
If they make that amount of money, it has to so little per year. It has to have a relationship with how well they're living or how bad they're living. Do you know anything about, for example, illnesses, sicknesses? Mm-hmm. How do they live? Their food, what do they eat?
Well, tell the truth. Now, South Koreans have some problems because they eat too much. Overweight now.
Really?
Yeah, they have a problem like that. And in North Korea, North Korea is just the opposite side.
It is the opposite how?
Yeah. Well, many newborn babies, they die because of malnutrition and poor medical treatment and very poor food. And so then we know that the life expectancy in North Korea is about 71 years old. Uh-huh. But in South Korea, 82 years old, so about 11 years different.
Wow.
Yeah.
Give us an example, if you can. What do people eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Well, North Korean, just the normal general people, they very, very poor food. And then just the water to grow. They cannot eat, enough rice, no cabbages. And so many people, they go on the field and they just pick the grass and eat. Even when they starve, they go to the hillside, the mountainside, and cut trees, and then peel off the bark, tree trunk, and they boil, and they eat that. Just to live like a primitive life.
So when you describe this, are we talking about all of North Korea, the 25 million people, or what?
Well, their life class is such different. Some high-linked people, high-level people, they eat well.
The elite?
Yeah, elite, they live very well, they eat very good food. But the general national people, they very poor. Very
I was after I met you and I was doing some research, I read someplace that there are approximately 1 million people, they eat and live with all kinds of modern society, food, and even cars, and then 24 million are hungry.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit more about those differences, because I find them incredibly different.
Well, in North Korea, Communist Party leaders and administrators and their families, they live very well. And their children, they can enjoy any kind of good, games and anything like in America. But general people, most of the people, they live on the bottom. They cannot eat, they cannot drink well, they cannot, even they are limited travel. They cannot go travel from city to another city. They are not free.
So when you say they are not free, let's say that I want to go from California to Arizona. What do they need to do for, not that they're going actually from California to Arizona, but in North Korea, if they want to go from one region to another or from one state to another, what do they have to do to be able to do that?
They must receive permit to travel from one region to another,
A
from one city.
permit from the government?
Yeah, even North Korean civilian, they need a permit. And also they have defectors. They always supervise people, where they go, where they move, what talking they speak with, who are talking with whom, to whom. Always they look at people. And they inform the authority.
So there are special people that are informants. Now describe a little bit about how does the elite live. They mostly live in the capital of Pyongyang, right?
Yeah.
And how do they live?
They live at a high level, where they have a modern swimming pool, hot water in winter time, like a Laguna Woods swimming pool here. And then they live very high level. They eat good food. But the other general people, just on the bottom, that's a problem.
So could we say that we can compare the elite in North Korea to the way many of the people live in the United States, or the majority, that it's easy to buy a car, a computer, a telephone, etc.? Is that what happens in Pyongyang?
Well, only elite people, high level people, they live in Pyongyang, so they have such things, instruments like computers and everything, instruments. But I mean, the general people, national people, they don't.
The general population don't.
No, they don't. No.
What happens if you live in North Korea and you want to move to another country?
They are limited. They cannot go without any permit. And the civilian, they are not free to travel overseas, out of country.
They get
No,
so.
They are not free.
If I want to live and I don't get the permit to live, how do I escape? How do they do it?
Yeah, there are quite a few, escapers from North Korea to another country. So first step, they cross over the boundary 2 ways. One is, Yellow River. That's a
Yellow River?
Yeah, from west to east up there, like that. They have to cross over. And south, north, and 2 River. So anyhow, they have to cross over 2 rivers anyway. Then they cross over, then it's Manchuria, China. Then, they go to another country. Or they can sail, Yellow Sea from Korean shore and China. It's hard to swim, I know, but some escapers, they escape by ship. Even somebody swim.
Yeah, that's what I read, that they swim. What happens if they get caught? If somebody sees them, that they're escaping, what happens to them then?
They shoot them.
They're executed?
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit, another thing that I keep thinking about the jails in North Korea. What happens inside those jails? In the research, I read that the laws, as we know, the laws that we have, you have to be proven that you're not innocent, that you committed a crime, and then you're considered guilty. But I read that in North Korea is very different. What happens with the law and the jails?
Well, if anyone complain about authority, North Korean leaders' authority, then they go to jail. Well, political, jail. Their life is of such terrible. And so then nobody can complain. They should say, keep quiet and just obey. Otherwise, then they go to jail.
You were telling me a story about spies within the families. What happens there? If I'm the mother and I tell my daughter or my son, I'm so tired of the way we live, what could happen to me?
I know that if you complain, I read a paper the other day that father complained about, Kim Jong-un's leadership, about their poor life and so on. The father complained to daughter, and daughter informed the
daughter
government. And the father, he was caught and he was killed. He was killed, but in other case, sent to the jail.
So, according to what you're saying and according to what we see on TV, there is a question that I have. How can the government pay for all those weapons that they show on TV? From the little ones to all the way missiles that can cross the oceans, etc. How is that paid for?
You mean how they can make money?
Yes, how can they afford it?
Now, North Korea, they demonstrate, long-range missiles, okay, very occasionally, to show, first, to sell their new modern weapons.
To show to the world?
To the world, and even like to Arab, Middle East. They show it, hey, you see, we have this kind of strong power missile, long-term, long-range missile, and they buy them, they purchase them. And also...
But where does the money come from to be able to build that? How can they afford to build those incredible weapons? Who pays for them?
Now, they send out many North Korean ladies to China, being waitress, and many North Korean men to China and another country, hard workers, construction workers, building workers, miners, and this and that, and then they get paid. They got only within 10%, 1/10 come to their home for family support, but about 90% to the government.
Oh, yes, I was watching a video where they actually talked about these men and they called them the dollar heroes because they are sent by the government. Yeah. They are actually told lies to recruit them, and then they're sent to other countries to build buildings, to create ships, etc. And they're paid, for example, in China, in Russia, in Poland, in several places of Africa too. Yeah. And then the money that they get paid, they don't receive, right?
They don't receive.
It's sent to the government of North Korea?
About 90% go to the government. Only 10%, even within 10%, 1/10 go to his family.
To feed the family.
The family.
And
so they are kind of a worker animal. Terrible people.
When you say a working animal, what do you mean?
Like well, I have a Korean life background. When in Korea, years ago, when Korea was poor, the farmers, when they cultivate the ground, the cow, they plow the land. Cow, and they walk, and then, plow the land.
Right.
Like that, North Korean people sent overseas, and they're working such hard, like an animal, to make money, to get money for the government mostly. For family, only 1/10.
And they live separately. Let's say that they're being sent to Poland. And in Poland, they live by themselves near where they work, or are they allowed to go wherever they want to go?
They are very limited.
Very limited.
They always have some spies to watch, and then some detectors to see where they move to, where they're going to, whom are they going to meet. And I always watch. So they are not free.
And another interesting thing that I found was that there are some people from the elite that are sent out of the country also to establish businesses, and they have to send money too. For example, they're sent to China, and they open a business. Do they have to send money to the government too?
They do.
They do?
Yeah.
So everybody has to do that.
Yeah, the government control them.
How about when we see those big marches with the weapons? We see such a big army.
Yeah.
Tell us about what is there an army that does everybody have to serve in the army, and for how long?
Well, I tell you, in South Korea, I served in Korean Army when I was young. I served about 34 months, a little bit less than 3 months, but now only 2 years in Korea.
In South Korea,
Yeah,
you served
in South Korea.
2 years?
Now.
And
then, girls, they don't serve military service.
Women don't.
That time and now, never. But in North Korea, men must serve, they used to serve 10 years.
Wow.
Even 2010, about 12 years ago. But now I think about 7 years. And the girls, they have to serve now too.
Wow. And how about, besides serving in the army, is there any other service that they have to provide
You mean?
to the government?
Well, they serve military service. Not only military service, but they are working like a slavery. Like a slavery, they're working everything, for the government.
If the government, let's say, needs to build a new railroad, a train, would they have to serve there?
They have to serve
with a salary or without salary?
What kind of salary? No, very poor food, very poor clothes. That's all.
So it's considered a social service.
Yeah. But in Korea, because young men, in Korea, they serve only 2 years. Then after that, they work, and they make money for family, for government, and that's why Korea is coming richer and richer. In North Korea, they keep in military service for 10 years and 7 years. Even girls, how can they work?
Or go to college.
Yeah. So they have no dream.
So what can one do? Tell us a little bit about LINK. LINK is a non-governmental organization, which is, I believe, Liberty in North Korea. What do people do there? And I know it's established in different countries like the United States, where your daughter works night and day. So what does LINK do?
Well, LINK, they are doing to support those escapers. When they escapers from North Korea, and they go to some southeastern countries.
They escape. How many miles would you say that they have to travel in order to escape?
I think about 3,000 miles.
3,000 miles to escape. I know that in the website for LINK, there is an incredible video where they actually followed some escapees, and they show how difficult it is and how dangerous it is to live any place in North Korea. So once they escape, if they're not caught, is it different? Their lives are different depending on if they are in China or Russia or Poland or Africa, any African countries, right? What happens, for example, when they get to China?
If they go to China?
If they escape to go to China.
Well, anyhow, Link, they try to support them. Well, the escaper staying somewhere in Asia, they decide where to go. But most of them, they decide to go to South Korea or United States of America. Two places.
When they get to South Korea, what do they do? For example, give us a little bit of a taste of their life in South Korea.
Well, they go to South Korea, then Korean government welcome them and give them, after investigations, search, and they give them civilian citizenship. And they are free to work or even the college. Some of them go to college, some of them work,
So they are allowed to study, to work, to really make a life. And if someone escapes, what happens to the family back in North Korea?
That's terrible to say. Well, I know that the family back in North Korea, they are repaid terribly.
Pay in terms of punishments?
Punishment.
Wow.
That's terrible.
What can one do here? What can we do here to help, to do something?
We can't do anything there for them. That's Kim Jong-un, North Korean government, they're treating them, so bad way. So what can we do then? That's terrible. That's terrible.
Do they believe in him? Are they educated to believe in him? How? What do they think about their government? They trust the government? They believe in the government?
You mean North Korean?
They
complain about government. They complain. Because when North Korea is not free economic system society, so they have only ration food from government, but very little, not enough always. So they complain about it because they are hungry always.
But they can't complain really.
They cannot complain openly. If they complain openly and then inform the police station, whatever, then jail and then execute.
Well, for our viewers, if they're interested, they can certainly look into the website of Link, Liberty in North Korea. They can make donations, or I have another idea. Because you know so much about South Korea, the culture, the history. You know so much about North Korea, the language, the history, the culture, etc. Would you be willing to teach us to become our teacher here in the village? How about if people would contact me and we would create a small or a large class to be educated by you, to learn the language, to learn the culture? Would you agree to do that?
I'd like to do. Even some years ago, I had a class here in Laguna Woods Village. Our students, some Chinese, some American, and they love to learn Korean alphabet, Korean language, and Korean history. So I taught them about 2 years. I really enjoyed it.
Good. So, friends, you've heard it here. There are some things that Mr. Chung couldn't say due to safety. But if you want to learn more about the culture, the language, and other things that you might be interested, in South or North Korea, just send me an email at rebeccagilad@gmail.com. And even though our talk today was not a happy place to talk about, it was certainly very, very informative. I bet that at the end of this conversation, you're going to say, wow, I did not know that. So please help me say thank you to Mr. Chung.
Thank you.
And stay tuned for next time, right here, you know when and where. Meanwhile, I love you.